All right, we are coming to order. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our public, to the stakeholders, to the staff, to our board members. Good to be with you as we start a new year. And let's do a roll call. We've got some serious traffic conditions out there, so people I think might be still fighting it, or maybe they've decided to go remote. So let's go through the list and see who's here and who's elsewhere. Member Vargas? Present. Member Booth? Member Booth is on the road, so we'll wish him safety out there. Member Klein?
Yes.
Okay, Member Davis?
Oh, she said she's on the road. She is. Okay.
On the road? All right, let me,
Trying to tune in.
okay, I'm gonna make road notes here. Vice Chair Earl?
Yes.
Member Green?
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Hart?
Present.
Member Hymas?
He said that he's on the road 3 minutes ago.
Okay. Member Carey?
Here.
Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Norton?
Here.
Member Reel?
Here.
Member Straight?
Here.
Member Wood?
Yes.
And I am here. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. We got 3 people on their way in. Let's get started. So, as always, we appreciate our highway
I'm
patrol.
on.
Is that Cindy?
I'm on my way in as well. This
Okay.
is Natalie. I'm on my
Oh,
way
Natalie's
in.
coming in
I'll
too. All
be
right.
there probably 7 minutes.
Thank you. Okay. So we got Member Booth, Member Klein, Member Davis, and Member Hymas on their way in. Just want to thank, as always, Chris Horrocks driving us, and security Davin Booth in case of emergency. Please use the 2 west doors out here leading to the exits on either side of the building. Let's get started with the pledge. Member Carey has agreed to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all. Member Bogus, do you have the support and backup you need? Are you set tech-wise? Okay, you have the board member message for the month. Welcome and thank you. Floor is yours.
Thank you. So today's board member message is actually focused on something that might be a little obscure in this context. And I thought about actually passing around a little container to collect all your cell phones because I would like you to act like students. So it's something that is going to require participation. And today I would like to, next slide please, talk about logical fallacies. I can't take credit for this artwork. I found it online, asked permission to use it, and was granted that permission. I will tell you that not everything in these images is accurate. And so the challenge is for you to find the inaccuracies or the logical fallacies. So today it says that our thing that we're going to get behind and champion is that robots should take over the world. And we say, premise accepted, let's argue about it. Well, a logical fallacy is ultimately an error in reasoning, and it ultimately ties itself to basing your conclusions on a false premise. It's an argument that can be disproven through reasoning, and it's different from a subjective argument or one that can be disproven with facts. Next slide, please. So what I found in my conversations since I have been on the board is that I often use the word premise or presupposition, and many people say, what do you mean? And that those pieces of terminology, people don't know what they mean. So a premise is a proposition on which an argument is based and from which a conclusion is drawn. A presupposition is postulation of an anecdotal condition that which is postulated is necessary antecedent condition or a prerequisite. So that's very fancy language. I would like to say it's an underlying idea that must be accepted as true for the argument to bear out or for the action to take place. And if the presupposition is false, we're taking action on a false presupposition. So next slide, please. Oh, I forgot to give you instructions. If you find the errors in this, I would like you to raise your hand. You don't have to say anything, just raise your hand. So a hasty generalization, which we see a lot on this board, we see hasty generalizations, and it is a logical fallacy of making a claim based on a sample size too small to support it. It occurs when an arguer incorrectly draws a conclusion from a small sample of data and applies it to the entire body of data. And so, for example, our friendly robots here say, I've met a few people and I conclude that all humans are ugly, evil, and smell like socks. Next slide, please. This can also be associated, hasty generalizations, with broad brush statements or questions. For example, all are X. All people that live in Podunk, USA are dumb. That would be a broad brush statement. And obviously untrue, because all is very rarely true. If we could go to the next slide, please. A red herring we hear often in this room and on the board, and it's often thrown out in debate, and I think we just need to be very wary of it. The red herring is a misleading statement, question, or argument meant to redirect a conversation away from its original topic. It needs to be identified, noticed, and rejected because red herrings are not germane to the topic at hand. Next slide, please. Slippery slope arguments are also common in this body and among this body. Slippery slopes are a logical fallacy that claims one event or action will lead to another, and that event or action will lead to a more extreme event or action. For example, our wonderful robots say, if we act nice to humans now, soon they will demand constant backrubs. It's a logical fallacy, and logical fallacies can and should be rejected on their face. Next slide, please. A circular argument. I just want you to know a couple incorrect things have gone through on those slides, and I have seen no hands, just so we're all aware. A circular argument is an incorrect argument that tries to prove itself using its conclusion as evidence for the argument itself, such as, our boss is the best person for the job because they were promoted. It's just not a sound reasoning argument. It is one that uses the same statement as both the premise and the conclusion, and no new information is introduced to justify the argument. Next slide, please. An ad populum argument is very, very interesting because it appeals to the masses. Everyone agrees with me, therefore I'm right. It is an argument that should be rejected because everyone agreeing that the sky is purple does not actually make the sky purple. If everyone says that the grass is brown, which, no, that's not a good example. But my point is everyone doing it does not make it true. So to say more people say this than this, making it true, is actually a logical fallacy. And we need to start consciously identifying and rejecting logical fallacies in this room. Another way to state it is a bandwagon argument. Next slide, please. So a straw man argument is very, very interesting, and we see this a lot when I engage with people in the public, at town halls, in debates, political debates. You see a lot of straw man arguments come back to statements that are made or to questions that are asked. Instead of actually answering the question, we entertain a straw man argument. And a straw man argument is defeating because it's exaggerated and it's an obviously wrong caricature of your opponent rather than your actual opponent. The flaw lies with the arguer's method of arguing rather than with the argument itself. The straw man fallacy avoids the opponent's actual argument and instead argues against an inaccurate caricature of it. Next slide, please. Another logical fallacy that we see often in this room is what is called a false dilemma. It's also known as a false dichotomy. Claims that there are only two options. Either you are for me or are against me, which is a logical fallacy. We can debate policy without being all or none. And often these two options are extreme opposites of each other, failing to acknowledge that other or more accurate and reasonable solutions or options exist. Next slide, please. Begging the question or begging the claim is a fallacy that occurs when the argument's conclusion is assumed as its premise. And in other words, it's a form of circular reasoning where the thing you're trying to prove is already assumed to be true. Next slide, please. This logical fallacy incorporates multiple logical fallacies. Just because B followed A does not mean B caused A. Next slide, please. I introduce you to the favorite argument of the internet. I don't like what you're saying. I disagree with you. Therefore, you are dumb, stupid, incorrigible. Fill in the adjective. The ad hominem attack is a logical fallacy that focuses on the person rather than addressing the argument itself. I'm sure there is data on the internet to prove that that is the favorite argument of the internet, but I don't have that here today. The genetic fallacy, next slide please, so sorry. The genetic fallacy we also entertain in this room. And it is the idea that because something came from something, it takes on those origins. Because someone looks like someone else, they think like someone else. It is a genetic fallacy, and you can't draw conclusions based upon a genetic fallacy. And so I would offer that as I have researched this to present on this today, because this is such a problem when we hear public comment. Often public comment is based on logical fallacy, and though I listen to people and I share their concerns, sometimes what is talked about is actually not germane to the conversation at hand, and therefore becomes a logical fallacy. So I would just argue that even though there are hundreds of logical fallacies that we could engage with, study, and work on rejecting, I've just presented a few, and I would ask that we would come together as a body and as a state and reject logical fallacy in favor of objective truth. So with that, sir, I yield my time. Thank you for my time today.
Thank you very much, Member Bogus. Okay. Oh, yes, thank you. We didn't always do that, but I like that new addition. We do appreciate every board member that brings up our... Exactly. I appreciate it. I think it's a great opportunity to say thanks. There's a lot of preparation in there. What's that? Yeah. We're going to be watching ourselves. Thank you. I feel like I just went through law school again. It was very helpful. All right, let's go to our education highlight from Ms. Kelsey James.
Thank you, Chair Moss. Kelsey James, Board Communications Coordinator. I am, hopefully they're in the audience. I know we have a full room today, so hopefully they were able to find their way to it. and join me. If I can welcome up Terry Davis, and we have a couple guests with. I know the podium's in the way, but if you just want to find seats where you can up there, that is great. So while they're coming up, I'll just give a little background. We are welcoming some not legislative representatives, but some people to our boardroom today to discuss the recent event of Murray High School being named to the 2023 ESPN Honor Roll Schools, which is a program that It's a program that ESPN does in partnership with the Special Olympics. So before they are named as an ESPN National Honor Roll School, they also have to become a Special Olympic Unified Champion School under that program. So there's quite a number of things that they have to hit. So I'll turn over to Terry Davis, who is our physical education specialist here at USBE, and I will let her introduce the others that are with her today. So if you just press the one that looks like there's a little man on it or person, then I'll turn you on.
All right. I'm Terry Davis. I am physical education specialist, curriculum content specialist for the Utah State Board of Education. And I'd like to introduce the guests that are with me. I have Tori Gillette from Murray High School, Unified Champion School. I have Rob Cuff and Missy Mackey Whiters and Chris Shipman from the Utah High School Activities Association. And we are here to celebrate and support outstanding education-based activities at Murray High School. We understand education-based activities is a large contributor to the culture of a school. We are excited because Murray High School qualified to be named ESPN Honor Roll Unified Champion School in the Western region. And this was advertised on ESPN. It's super exciting. This honor signifies tremendous effort and dedication from many at Murray High School. We would love to see more schools qualify for this award. This award brings attention to the inclusive nature of Murray High School. I'm going to turn the rest of the time over to Tori to explain the significance of this award. So pull that.
Am I ready? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm Tori Gillette. I'm an assistant principal at Murray High School, and I have been the assistant principal with the responsibility of and the pleasure of being over the unified program. So I'm grateful to be here, and thank you for the invite. Our unified program is definitely a highlight of Murray High School, and it shows the inclusivity and welcoming nature that Murray has when you walk in the building. But I can't highlight the Unified Sports Program without highlighting some of the other programs that actually feed into Unified, and I believe are the impetus for why our Unified program is so robust and so popular. One of the programs that we have is a really great peer tutoring program, and something I personally hadn't seen in any other schools. Our students in our severe disabilities classroom are welcome and scheduled into all sorts of classes in the general education classrooms. They, depending on their IEP minutes and their IEP goals, they'll do their core classes in their classroom, but they are welcomed and scheduled into all sorts of classes that are of their interest. They've been in PE, choir, wood shop, foods, social studies, any class that they find exciting and want to be a part of. And as part of that, they're matched with a peer tutor. And our peer tutors are trained to support and empower our students so that they can go be in our general education classrooms and be successful. The reason why I highlight that is our peer tutors, there's no restriction and limitations on who can be a peer tutor. All of our students are allowed. So we have students from all groups that come and do peer tutoring. And I have seen some of the greatest light in the eyes of students who come and be peer tutors. The reason why I highlight that is because most of our peer tutors are the ones who are the partner athletes who begin or the partner athletes for Unified Sports, and they are asked if they want to be a partner athlete, and they come and they're eager to join, and they bring their friends, and we get a vast number of partner athletes to come out, and a lot of that is from the peer tutoring program. Most of our peer tutors will, or our partner athletes will continue being part of the teams even after they're no longer peer tutors. So once they do it, they are hooked and they continue. So like Terry said, we were named a banner school, a national banner school for Unified Sports. And there are many components to that. I think there were 10 components that we had to meet to do that. And I won't go over all those components, but part of that is we participate in unified basketball, soccer, and track, and we will start swimming this unified swimming this year. I think it starts it starts after basketball, so next month. And so we're excited to get that going. And our unified team is just as celebrated as every other sport. We advertise it the same. We invite students. Our students go and participate. And so we don't treat it as something extra. We treat it as part of the inclusivity and belonging and as one of our sports in our school. And that's what makes it so great. Also, as mentioned, we were named a ESPN honor roll school, which was a surprise to us. We had no idea, and I don't know how we even got on that list. But whoever nominated us, thank you. But it was beautiful, and we presented the banner and the plaque that we got at a recent assembly, to which a roar of our students of applause and excitement filled the auditorium, and so we were so grateful for that. I just want to end with a little story of what I've seen at Murray, and that unified and peer tutoring has really helped change the culture and create a culture of inclusivity. Last year I was new to Murray. It was my first year. And like the sophomores, I was a little hesitant and nervous. And our students in our severe classroom, again, very nervous. They're sophomores coming into a brand new school. And so at lunchtime, they would often sit with their paraeducators and have lunch in the cafeteria. And as I've seen them grow into juniors this year, now when I go over to the table, the paraeducators are typically sitting alone, and all of our unified students are out at tables with other friends. And when asked if they go back to, go to their parent, no, I want to sit with my friends. And so it's very rare that they actually sit there anymore. They sit with their friends that they've met through peer tutoring and through Unified Sports, and they're welcome, and they are just like one of the gang, and they are just teenagers being great teenagers, and it's so fun to see. And as a professional, something that I've really learned from and will like to continue any school that I'm at. I want to promote that all schools should have a unified team. All schools should try to build that up as much as possible. And I invite you, we have a tournament on January 30th that we will be hosting, a unified basketball tournament on January 30th. Everyone is welcome to come. We will have, I think, 6 unified schools there, so they'll all be there to play basketball and have our tournament. And it was the event, my favorite event of last year, so please come if you are available. With that, thank you.
One note that I'd like to say is if you would like to look up the video, you can find the video of the ESPN Murray High School on YouTube.
So I'd love to open it up if there are any questions or comments for our guests from board members. Just this is your opportunity. I think we have.
I'll just say congratulations and thank you for the back. What a beautiful result. I mean, hearing those kids mingle and mix with their peers and feel confidence is awesome. And I'm glad somebody picked it up and recognized it. A lot of this stuff we know goes on in quiet, right? I mean, there's thousands of people doing great stuff, and it's wonderful when somebody actually gets held up and recognized. So thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to give recognition for awesome work. And I do want to open it up for comments or questions from Member Norton.
Thank you so much for being here and congratulations. This is wonderful. I have a question about in the beginning and when you said you were only here a year, maybe, others could weigh in or you could tell me a little about, what you do know of the history. How long has your program been running and how difficult or I hear this from many LEAs, but about the challenges to get through scheduling, cost, et cetera. How did Murray overcome that?
I can't speak to when it started. I'm not sure, so I don't know if any of you know when we started, because again, I've only been at Murray for 2 years and in the district for 2 years. But what I can say is our athletic director treats unified sports just like any other sport. They're on rotation they get money for transportation. They're on rotation for uniforms. They are included in our banners of sports and they're highlighted just like anyone else. So I think as far as how do we get through that, it's that everybody treats it. It's not a separate thing. It is a sport in our school, just like any other sport, and we treat it that way. And we have a coach, and she goes through all the same coaching meetings that everyone else goes through, and so it's not treated separately. It's treated as the same.
I can give you a little bit more of the history. Special Olympics Utah has been doing unified sports for a very long time. I served on their board of trustees a few years ago, and about 5 years ago, they came to us at Utah High School Activities and says, how can we partner with unified sports? And so we started with soccer, and then we've now gone to track and field, basketball, and now swimming. We hope to get to other sports as well. When Governor Cox became the governor here a few years ago, First Lady Abby Cox has taken this on as one of her platforms and has done a tremendous job in helping the growth of unified sports throughout Utah, not only in high schools, but also in middle schools, elementaries. Her, along with Ashley Smith and the Jazz, have really promoted unified sports throughout Utah. So Murray High School has done an incredible job and has got a great honor. There are other schools throughout the state that have received those honors as well, which is really exciting for Utah. So we just want to encourage all districts, and we do, to get involved with unified sports and get those students involved in something. We have state championships for each of those sports that I mentioned, along with the state championships we have in other sports. And it's just really exciting to see those students and their mentors and their partners that help them through the other students with special needs and those who are their mentors succeed together. It's really awesome.
We've got, let me see, make sure I go the right order. Member Lair.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, especially on this snowy day. I have a couple of questions or comment. One a comment and question. I know there's been research for years, for decades, about how participation in athletics improves academics, and I think that is just this is an amazing kind of extension of that, where absolutely we want more students to do well, and so allowing them, providing their participation is wonderful. I'm just curious, because we can't watch every sport in action. If one of you, either you or Rob, could give us sort of a picture of, like, how do students with disabilities swim? How do they play basketball using wheelchairs? How do you do soccer? Do you have, track seems easy because you could have a person running along with a participant, but can you give us a little bit of a picture of that, of what that looks like?
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start, and then
not exhaustive.
Yeah.
Just
I'll start with what I've seen.
Snapshot.
Yeah, our students have all different physical abilities, and so depending on their abilities, we don't have anyone in our school that's in a wheelchair on the teams right now. But I've seen where others, and the partner athlete, wheels them around, and make sure they're a part of it. But the biggest thing I could say is I invite you to come watch one if you can make it out. I'm not sure how swimming will go. We'll see how that goes. I'm excited to watch
Do you
it.
have a swimmer swim alongside another swimmer?
That is probably a better
a Rob
question.
question.
I'll start, and then I'm going to have Chris talk a little bit about track. But so we have mentors who help the special needs students in every situation. For example, in basketball, there has to be 3 special needs and 2 mentors on the court at the same time. In our track and field, which he will talk about, there's mentors that will run with them, by them. Swimming, same thing as far as the relays go. And so in everything except swimming, the mentors are not part of the high school teams. So we're involving other students besides just those. For example, if someone is on the high school girls or boys basketball team, then they're ineligible, if you will, to be a mentor for the unified. Okay. So we involve more students that way, but they are just constantly helping them, mentoring them, becoming their friends, so to speak. And it's really, that's why the title is Unified Sports. It really brings the school together in a way that has never been done before. And I'm going to have Chris talk a little bit about track.
And then I just have one concluding comment.
So for track, right, the race is pretty simple. They'll line up and race. But we do relays with that as well. And then we are incorporating some of the field events where it would be the athlete and then the mentor combining their marks to get kind of a team score off of those.
Okay. That's great. This seems, since we're talking about equity later today, this seems like a beautiful example of equity in action.
And we,
thank you for those examples. Go ahead,
this
Chris.
fall we did at our cross-country state championship have a vision-impaired runner that ran the course and competed at the state championship. So that was exciting that we're able to incorporate them into, our non-unified sports as well.
That's
So
helpful. Thank you very much. And I would love to come and see some of those sports in action. Thanks.
Superintendent Dixon.
Thank you, Chair Moss. Thank you so much for being here. Go Spartans. I mean, having spent 7 years at Murray High, Angie's a proud graduate, Deputy Stalling, so we love Murray High. I spent 7 years. It took me a while to graduate. No, actually, I was a counselor and an assistant. Assistant principal there. Murray's had a long-standing tradition of inclusionary practices for students with disabilities. I'm wondering, with unified sports, some of the data that I've looked at in other schools that have started this, I've noted it impacts absenteeism. We see absenteeism go down, behavior changes. You've talked a little bit about that, but can you drill down on that a little bit more? How have you seen it impact the overall sense of belonging among everyone in your school? Are you seeing it start to impact some of those other pieces? I mean, the inclusionary practices for students with disabilities, awesome. Yes. What about all the other stuff that we start to see how it impacts the overall school culture and sense of belonging? Thank you.
Terry Davis, physical education specialist. I, for a long time, have done inclusionary physical education, and I am a data keeper. And one thing that I noticed is not only absenteeism goes down, but performance, skills, and learning shoot through the roof when we have inclusionary situations. When you look at general education students or students that don't have disabilities, we also notice that in an inclusionary class, they tend to participate more and feel a sense of belonging more, that they can be of like a peer tutor, or that it doesn't matter that they're not an athlete, that they can be there and they're welcome too, and it's an inclusionary, happy environment. So the data that I took over 12 years of adapted PE, all the data points to it's better for everyone.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions from board members? Well, wonderful report. And thank you for all your efforts and for joining us today, especially in the snow. So, thanks a ton.